reality. So why am I saying this message now again and again? Remember, right from the beginning of this year, the Lord gave us various nations to be praying for. Though I never listed some here, but I have been praying for them secretly. So America, there is concern. Concern is coming. Concern is coming. Every work we do, there is reward in the spirit. So this is not reward of love. This is a reward of discipline. Every word we do, reward is coming. So discipline is coming to the nation America. Everyone there should abandon his ways, abandon his thought, trust only on God. That is when this discipline will not take you. Trust only on God. That is when this discipline will not take you. So something is coming. Let us pray for the nation America. Something is coming in the nearest future. I love you so much. Viewers all over the world, put your hand in the things of God. Put your mind in the things of God. Fellowship with Jesus with deep fear. Fellowship with Jesus with deep fear. Let us see the last scripture. So I am taken to the book of the same First Peter chapter 5 from verses 6. It says, humble yourself therefore under the mighty hand of God, so that he may exalt you in due time. Take note of this. Humble yourself therefore. So the nation America, it is time to humble yourself. It is time to humble yourself mightily in the hand of God. Don't trust on technology than Jesus. Don't trust on technology than Jesus. So something is coming in this nearest future. What I'm saying is not far, very close. So we have been praying for you since the beginning of this year. Something is coming. And for my nation, Nigeria, continue to pray for your election, because
you in front of my melody. You are all that matters. I'll make room for two. You and I, Jesus. You are all that matters. You are all that matters. Is it the house or is it the car? I'll give them all to you. Is it the name or is it the fame? I'm nothing without you. What would have become of me if I didn't see your light? What would have been said of me if you didn't hold my hand? Now I've come to realize that you are all I have. You are all that matters. I'll put you in front of my melody. You are all that matters. I don't believe us in the house tonight. I'll make room for two.
Hello, I'm John Dickerson. Welcome to CBS News Primetime. Here's a look at our top stories. The dark after the storm. Hurricane Ian leaves more than 2 million people across Florida without power. Our team is on the ground and has the latest. Rescue and recovery. I'll speak to the Fort Myers fire chief about his team's efforts to wade through the destruction to help those in need. From hurricane to tropical storm to hurricane again. Ian regained strength over the Atlantic after leaving Florida. We'll tell you where it's headed now. But first, we start on Florida's southwestern coast, which Ian raked over, leaving boats piled in the yard, houses split open, and empty lots with little evidence of what stood there before. The storm made landfall as a Category 4. Winds circled at 150 miles per hour Wednesday afternoon. The hardest hit areas like Fort Myers, Naples, Punta Gorda, and Cape Coral saw roofs peeled off homes and buildings, roads turned to rivers, and trees and debris scattered like everything had been dumped out of a box. Over 2.6 million people are without power, In areas from Inglewood to Bonita Beach, storm surges reached up to 18 feet. CBS News correspondent Chris Van Cleve is in Fort Myers.
Oh my God.
More than 2.5 million customers across Florida were without power Thursday morning after Hurricane Ian, now a tropical storm, walloped the state as one of the most powerful storms to ever hit the United States, causing widespread devastation and flooding that trapped residents in their homes. Ian was downgraded to a tropical storm Thursday morning after slamming into Florida's southwest coast as a major Category 4 hurricane Wednesday afternoon, bringing winds of 150 miles per hour and life-threatening storm surge. Maximum sustained winds dropped to near 65 miles per hour with higher gusts early Thursday, but the storm has continued to cause destruction as it moves northeast. Its center is expected to move off the east-central coast of Florida later Thursday before approaching the coast of South Carolina on Friday. President Joe Biden on Thursday declared a major disaster in Florida over the devastation caused by Ian. The president ordered federal aid to supplement state and local recovery efforts in areas affected by the storm starting September 23 and onward, the White House said. Meanwhile, in Cuba, power is slowly being restored for residents across the country following sweeping outages in Ian's wake. 23 people in Florida rescued by U.S. Coast Guard, number expected to climb Mini Von Berg. The U.S. Coast Guard has rescued 23 people in Florida and expects that number to climb, Peter Gauthier, its deputy commandant, said. Most of the rescues have been by helicopter, he said during an appearance Wednesday. The Coast Guard has boats available and will be moving to assist in the life-saving mission after Hurricane Ian slammed into the state Wednesday, he said. The top priority is saving lives, he said. In the days leading up to the storm's landfall, the Coast Guard moved all of its cutters, aircraft, and small boats out of the area so we could be positioned to bring those back in. Hurricane Ian's devastating landfall along Florida's southwestern coast drew eerily similar comparisons to Hurricane Charlie, which slammed the same region of the peninsula in 2004. Brian McNulty, a senior research associate at the University of Miami's Rosenstiel School of Marine, Atmospheric, and Earth Science, noted on Twitter that Ian closely followed Charlie's path through the Caribbean, adding that both storms made landfall in western Cuba before slamming into Florida's Gulf Coast. But while the two storms share some similarities, experts have said that storm surge, flooding, and rainfall intensity from Ian were expected to be more severe. High floodwaters in Naples, Florida, prevented crews from assessing the damage from Hurricane Ian on Wednesday night, city manager Jay Bootheshwar said on NBC's Today Show. We had assembled 3 assessment teams last night to try and get a feel for what we were in for this morning. Unfortunately, the water wasn't receding fast enough, he said. And then we had some complications with the king tide last night a little bit after midnight. so our crews have been out pre-dawn assessing streets. Bhubaneswar urged residents to stay out of the high waters and let the crews work. The teams have already begun removing cars and trying to identify where the extremely hazardous locations are, he said. Evacuation orders for Hillsborough County, where Tampa is located, and Pinellas County, where Clearwater and St. Petersburg are based, were lifted Thursday morning. As the path of Hurricane Ian takes it in its hazardous conditions away from Hillsborough County, and following initial safety assessments, County Administrator Bonnie M. Weiss has rescinded existing orders of evacuation for Hillsborough County. Pinellas County said crews and first responders were proactively conducting damage assessments and response as needed, but said mandatory evacuation orders had been lifted for all evacuation zones, mobile home communities and residential health care facilities.
Want is Jesus. All I want is the Holy Ghost. All I want is His kingdom. Be made manifest on the earth. Put you in front of my destiny. You are all that matters. Oh, I'll make room for two. You and I, Jesus. You are all that matters. Yeah. I'll put you in front of my destiny. You are all that matters. All that matters. I'll make room for two. You and I, Jesus. You are all that matters. In 1 minute, open up your mouth and talk to Jesus.
Deadly Hurricane Ian, one of the most powerful storms ever to hit the United States, roared into South Carolina on Friday, delivering a powerful second punch after walloping Florida. The National Hurricane Center, NHC, said Ian made landfall near Georgetown, South Carolina, as a Category 1 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 85 miles, 140 kilometers per hour. It was later downgraded to a post-tropical cyclone, but the NHC said Friday evening that Ian is bringing heavy rain, flash flooding and high winds to both South Carolina and North Carolina. Some areas can expect up to 8 inches of rain. As for storm-ravaged Florida, President Joe Biden said, "We're just beginning to see the scale of the destruction. It's likely to rank among the worst in the nation's history," he said of Ian, which barreled into Florida's southwest coast on Wednesday as a Category 4 storm, a tick shy of the most powerful on the Saffir-Simpson wind scale. The death count from the storm stands at 23, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement said Friday evening. Hurricane Ian created havoc along the coast of South Carolina, where it made landfall south of Georgetown as a Category 1 hurricane Friday afternoon. The town is about 60 miles northeast of Charleston. Upon arrival, Ian flooded the coastal area and residential neighborhood with storm surges and heavy rainfall, sending seawater rushing over the road. The floods have become catastrophic, the Pawleys Island Police Department said on Twitter, as it posted several videos showing the staggering amount of flooding. In one sequence, rescue vehicle drivers can be heard asking where to turn trying to follow a road hidden by deep rough waters starting at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Ian brought maximum sustained winds of 85 miles per hour, the National Hurricane Center said. In a sign of the many threats posed by Ian, the state of South Carolina was under more than 85 weather alerts, watches and alerts as of 2 p.m. Police in Horry County, which includes Myrtle Beach, posted video of the sea rushing into the streets from the access point in Garden City along with heavy rain and flooded roads. The agency urged anyone in the area to stay out of the way. A local TV news crew caught sight of the high water rippling along a nearby causeway. Ian had forced road closures in historic downtown Charleston, and winds near the city were blowing at hurricane speed. This is the latest impact of a hurricane to inundate much of the Florida peninsula, and Ian is expected to cause blackouts and flooding to South Carolina and southeastern North Carolina. Ahead of Ian's arrival, storm warnings covered all of the coast of South Carolina and parts of the coast of North Carolina to Cape Fear. Early Friday, a marine weather buoy 41 nautical miles southeast of Charleston recorded waves as high as 21 feet, the National Weather Service said. Earlier this week, there were no waves in the buoy that measured higher than 4 feet. Forecasters have warned that most beaches in South Carolina and North Carolina could see storm surges reaching 6 feet above the ground, with possibly more than 9 feet in places. Charleston County, which covers about 100 miles of coastline, declared a state of emergency on Thursday and opened shelters for people wishing to escape the storm in safety and on higher ground. But the county had to stop bus services to the shelters on Thursday, when strong winds made the journey risky. Just north along the coast, Georgetown County is urging people in flood-prone areas to keep an eye on weather warnings, but in contrast to Charleston. The county said Thursday it has no plans to open shelters. It also avoided other measures such as offering sandbags, saying people could buy them in stores. Widespread areas will experience power and communications outages, the NWS office in Wilmington, North Carolina said. Other impacts are thought to range from broken trees or fallen debris blocking roads and bridges and highways being unsafe. Much of the Charleston metro area started Friday under a flash flood warning issued around 6 a.m. Eastern Time, hours before the storm was expected to bring a storm surge. Floods from heavy rains triggered road closures around the city, from the central intersection of Huger and King Roads to roads along the waterfront. We urge only essential trips, that the police department says. In downtown Charleston, several streets began to flood before dawn, as Ian's torrential rain band dropped 1 to 2 inches of water on the city, according to the National Weather Service office in Charleston. Another 2 to 6 inches of rain could fall. Flash floods are expected to hit a number of popular tourist areas from Folly Beach to Sullivan's Island and the Isle of Palms. Further inland, flooding is also likely to hit North Charleston, the office said. After Hurricane Ian landed, reports of damage on the Grand Strand started pouring in, including 2 destroyed docks. The storm made landfall in Georgetown at 2:05 p.m. on September 30th, the Weather Channel reported. The flooding damaged at least 2 jetties, including Cherry Grove Pier on North Myrtle Beach and Pawleys Island Pier. Midsection of Cherry Grove Wharf in Horry County has collapsed, WMBF reported at 2 p.m. Cherry Grove Pier was also damaged by Hurricane Hugo in 1989. In Georgetown County, the end of the Pawleys Island Pier has collapsed and drifted south, the Pawleys Island Police Department reported at 1:23 p.m. on Twitter. Pawleys Island Police also tweeted that the Summons Pier was blocking the N Causeway in front of Town Hall. Power outages continued to escalate into the afternoon when Hurricane Ian hit September 30th. Myrtle Beach Police on Twitter told motorists to avoid flooded roads. Do not pass through a waterlogged highway. Take another route and stay safe. This is the 3rd Avenue South and Ocean Boulevard, they tweeted. along with a video of the SUV speeding down a flooded road. I heard that we are experiencing more flooding on Ocean Boulevard than I thought, with a few vehicles stranded in the water. It's coming from a low point, said Public Information Officer Mark Cruia. Myrtle Beach texted at 2:30 p.m. Myrtle Beach fire crew responded to 316 4th Avenue for a structure fire. There was no fire, but Truck 6 rescued 4 people trapped on the second floor due to flooding in the area, the Myrtle Beach Fire Department said on Twitter at around 2:30 p.m. Hurricane Ian is preparing to make landfall anytime now on the South Carolina coast, said Georgetown County Emergency Services Director Brandon Ellis. The eye of the storm is approaching the area between Awandaw and Georgetown as we speak of a Category 1 hurricane with winds of 85 miles per hour. The effects felt by the area on the morning and evening of September 30th included several fallen trees throughout the area, flooded roads, and the tremendous impact of storm surges being felt on coastal communities and tidal marshes. We encourage everyone, stay home, don't go out, make sure you keep yourself and your family safe, said Ellis. Don't put yourself in danger just to take advantage of the sights and sounds of a hefty storm affecting our area. Some district utility partners have stopped aerial operations, such as using bucket trucks to repair power lines. The most serious danger the county has seen so far are storm surges along the county's coast and strong winds, also uprooting trees, in some cases on highways. Surfside Beach Police Chief Kenneth Hoffman said that many parts of Ocean Boulevard are currently under at least a few inches of water, and at least 3 parts of Ocean Boulevard are closed due to flooding in the area. As of 13:30, the Santee Electric Cooperative reported 4,628 customers without power in Georgetown County and 2,871 without power in Williamsburg County. Horry Electric Cooperative reported 4,016 customers without electricity, and electric cooperatives of South Carolina except Marlboro Electric Cooperative and PD Electric Cooperative reported 42,829 outages. Ellis confirmed that the crew responded to a fallen tree impacting a house on Graham Lane near Georgetown, reportedly causing injuries. Ellis said first responders responded to numerous calls for fallen trees across the region. The City of Andrews posted on its Facebook page that power lines went out on Jones Avenue and Privet Street on the morning of September 30th. While trees were uprooted near Tony's Famous Pizza on North Morgan Avenue and along South Carolina Highway 41. From Myrtle Beach Police, the department reported around 12:40 p.m. that the lights at the intersection of Kings Highway and 3rd Avenue South were out. A Category 1 hurricane less than 100 miles south of Charleston was heading north towards South Carolina at about 9 miles per hour, but the monster hurricane was already showering Georgetown and Horry counties with heavy rain and twinkling lights around Georgetown County. In Myrtle Beach, 2 women walked in the rain along North Kings Highway in Myrtle Beach around 10 a.m., one of them pushing a stroller, battling the wind. Homeless people roamed the streets, one carrying pillows, the other with sacks of goods, looking for shelter.
Rescue efforts are underway after Ian made landfall in southwest Florida yesterday at near Category 5 strength. The devastation so widespread on the West Coast, with communities flooded, homes destroyed, and more than 2 million people without power. The death toll also expected to rise and could be in the hundreds.
And we're getting our first look at the damage from above, and it is extensive. Sky 10 flying over southwest Florida earlier today. The chopper capturing the bridge from the mainland to Sanibel Island, taken out by Ian. We're also seeing homes and boats destroyed in that storm.
We do have crews spread out all across the state today for you.
And we'll start with Local 10's Andrew Perez, who's live in Naples. Andrew?
So I want to be very clear, just like you mentioned, the focus today is on search and rescue. But now that these water levels have dropped dramatically here on the West Coast, people are starting to come out. They're starting to take a look at some of the damage, at some of the cars, at some of the boats, many of them that have literally floated away, pretty far away too. You've got 4 pontoon boats that ended up here at the center median. We're told they came from a business that is not very close to this area. Up and down the West Coast, just an extreme situation. Ian making history as one of the most powerful hurricanes to ever make landfall in Florida, decimating parts of the state.
This storm is having broad impacts across the state, and some of the flooding you're going to see in areas hundreds of miles from where this made landfall are going to set records. 2.5 million Floridians told to evacuate, but some who chose to stay had to be rescued by first responders. High water levels prompting drastic rescue calls in Lee County.
Caller reporting a sinking vehicle, unknown if he's breathing. Caller disconnected.
And so many people are still waiting for help.
We have thousands of calls on 911 that are prioritized, and we're answering as we speak. There are thousands of people that are waiting to be rescued.
ABC's Ginger Z facing the eye wall.
We see these winds, and that little house that we were talking about all day has gone, succumbed to the storm surge. Now the blue roof is all that's left floating in the water toward the building.
Fort Myers flooded with up to a 12-foot storm surge, shredding structures to pieces, debris floating in the streets, cars submerged, some waking up without homes. This floating debris was once somebody's house. In Naples, Kimberly Walker telling ABC about the moment water began to seep into her home.
The water got to be a lot more and a lot more and a lot more. And it didn't matter what you did. The water started coming into my home, reaching about mid-thigh. I knew I had to get out.
In the city of Punta Gorda, water service is out. A boil water notice is in effect until further notice. But many of the home and business owners out here say that the damage is extreme and that these areas, they will take quite a bit of time to recover.
Drew, we noticed the cars behind you coming in. You even mentioned now that the water levels have receded a bit. You've seen more traffic coming into Naples. What's the traffic been like for you on your commute over there? Have you seen a lot of people trying to get back to their homes and such?
Yeah, again, everybody's trying to assess the damage right now, so there's a flood of people trying to get back to their homes. But there are also so many more emergency response teams, not only from Southwest Florida, but from all over the state, from other states as well. On the way in, just FPL alone, we saw a bunch of emergency FPL trucks, dozens and dozens of them going across Alligator Alley. That also caused traffic issues. It's again why emergency personnel encouraging people out here that if they don't need to leave where they are right now, it's best just to stay put. They understand that everybody's anxious. They want to see how their homes fared. They want to see how their friends are doing. But right now they just want people to stay put. I want you to take a look at an interview we conducted just a short time ago. We spoke with a few business owners out here as well. They had extensive water damage to their businesses. Take a look.
We thought Irma was bad. We thought Charlie was bad. This is not like I've never experienced this all in my 29 years of life. Cars abandoned. Boats are floating everywhere. You can see the boats back there just crashed into everywhere. It's devastating. A lot of homes back here in Bayshore were evacuated. Some casualties, actually.
Everything's kind of destroyed. I mean, computers, a lot of paperwork, titles that I have for cars. I had to take them out. They're wet. In spite of everything, you know, we have our lives, and that's more important, you know.
I think it's also important to point out there's no cell service. Obviously, we're very familiar with big storms like this in South Florida. There's no to limited gas. We saw one gas station that was actually open, but obviously there was a very long line. No power as well. So crews right now urging people to, again, just kind of stay calm, remain indoors. There are 100 portable cell phone towers that are actually en route being set up all across Southwest Florida right now. That's the latest here in Naples. I'm Andrew Perez, Local 10 News.
Thank you. And as we mentioned, the devastation widespread in Southwest Florida after Ian. Sky 10 capturing images from above earlier today of so much underwater.
A devastating aftermath from Hurricane Ian. Footage from Sky 10 over the Fort Myers area showing a new perspective once the sun rose earlier this morning. A clear view of wreckage for miles. Boats, homes, streets, and bridges wrecked by the storm. That includes portions of the Sanibel Causeway, collapsed or washed away. The causeway is the only way to get to or from Sanibel and Captiva Islands to Florida's mainland. The governor today not mincing words on the historic nature of what raged across the southwestern part of Florida.
The amount of water that's been rising and will likely continue to rise today, even as the storm is passing, is basically a 500-year flood event.
The bird's eye view also highlighting fires consuming some homes, smoke billowing from the remains of others. First responders likely not responding to incidents like this. Instead, any efforts by them will be focused on rescuing people still stuck in what remains.
As of right now, we are prioritizing calls. And, you know, we were looking at roughly, give or take, a couple thousand calls that came through 911 of people that are in need. And some of them we can't access right now.
From ground level in Fort Myers Beach, Joe Orlandini and his family bunkering down on the 3rd floor of his home after water levels climbed the 2 floors below.
We weren't prepared for quite a storm of this magnitude. We were hoping it would dodge us. It didn't. It got worse.
And as Ian continues its destructive march across Florida, parts of the East Coast are getting pummeled with that rain and wind.
We were already expecting about 12 to 20 inches of rain. Some places could see up to 30 inches. So stay home, stay safe.
Ian, now a tropical storm, is near Florida's east coast and is moving back over water. Ian is expected to re-intensify and could be at near hurricane strength when it approaches the coast of South Carolina on Friday. A hurricane watch has been issued for South Carolina and the Georgia coast.